welcome to the Explainer. Look, we're going to skip the fluff today and get right to it, because the crypto market is currently standing at an incredibly high-stakes crossroad. We are literally looking at a market holding its breath, just waiting for the next major catalyst. So today, we're breaking down the absolutely critical technical analysis for Ethereum and XRP. We're going to strip away all the noise, look directly at the charts, and figure out exactly what these key levels are telling us.
So, let me ask you right up front, breakout or breakdown? Where's crypto actually heading next? If you've been glued to the charts like we have, you know the tension right now is just palpable. The entire digital asset space is hovering at this critical juncture, and the next few moves are going to dictate the trend for weeks, maybe even months to come. So let's dive into the data to find the answer.
All right, let's jump straight into Act 1, Ethereum's delicate squeeze.
If ETH's current chart was a movie, it'd definitely be a high-tension suspense thriller. Just to ground us in reality here, Ethereum is currently trading right at $2,290. And from this specific vantage point, we can really start to measure the massive forces pushing and pulling on its price action.
And the reason it's hovering right at that $2,290 mark? Well, it's trapped in what traders call a squeeze. You know that classic trope in action movies where the hero is stuck in a room, the floor is slowly moving up, but the ceiling is inching down? Yeah, that is exactly what's happening to the price right now. You're physically stuck between a support floor holding you up and a resistance ceiling pushing you down. And just like a coiled spring under immense pressure, a squeeze almost always leads to a violent reaction. We're talking an imminent breakout above the ceiling or a nasty breakdown straight through the floor. Now, what's really interesting about this setup is how clearly defined the walls of this trap actually are. On the support floor, ETH is successfully holding above its 50-day moving average. That is a really solid, positive sign for a short-term recovery. Buyers are clearly stepping in right there. But looking up at the resistance ceiling, it is heavily struggling to break above the 100-day moving average, which is sitting firmly right around $2,350. The battle lines are drawn exactly between these two averages. Let's check the vital sign, shall we? The RSI is hovering right around 52. That is pretty much the textbook definition of neutral weighting momentum. It basically tells us the market is neither super strong nor super weak. It's just waiting for a catalyst. But look at the MACD. It's flashing a bit of a warning light. It remains stuck in negative territory, suggesting that any upward movement we're seeing right now might be weak and ultimately unsustainable. The momentum simply isn't backing up the bulls just yet.
Because we're in such a delicate spot, we've got to set our immediate if-then stakes. If that resistance ceiling finally breaks and ETH pushes above $2,350, we could easily see a rapid move toward $2,550, maybe even higher. But, and this is a big but, if that 50-day support fails and it drops below $2,240, the downside opens up significantly toward $2,100 or maybe lower. It is a true knife-edge scenario, guys.
Moving right along to Act 2, XRP's downward pressure. Now, while Ethereum is caught in that neutral squeeze, XRP is honestly a much more cautionary tale. Right now, it's trading at about $1.37. And just looking at this number in context with the broader market tells us we are dealing with undeniable short-term weakness here. The bulls are simply not in the driver's seat right now.
And this brilliantly illustrates exactly why the bulls have lost control. Unlike Bitcoin and ETH, XRP has basically lost its safety nets. It's slipped right below that crucial 50-day moving average. Even worse, it's currently trading below both the 100-day and the 200-day moving averages. What were once solid floors of support are now acting as these heavy, concrete ceilings of resistance. Every single time XRP tries to move up, it's just going to slam right into heavy selling pressure at these levels. A quick glance at XRP's technical dashboard pretty much confirms the exhaustion. You've got an RSI sitting down around 46, which undeniably reflects weak momentum. Buyers are just tired. Combine that with a MACD that is deeply in negative territory, and it strictly reinforces a very bearish outlook for the short term. The vital signs here are definitely pointing downward.
So right now, XRP is quite literally trapped inside a descending channel. And it's not just a stagnant drop, It's a structural trend where the market is methodically stepping the price down, lower high after lower high. The overall trajectory is just firmly under selling pressure.
So where are the battle lines drawn for XRP? Well, on the downside, the absolute critical line in the sand to watch is $1.30. This is the floor where buyers have previously stepped up to defend the asset. If 1.30 breaks, man, we are looking at a much deeper drop. To the upside, XRP has a ton of heavy lifting to do. It desperately needs to reclaim the levels above 1.40 and 1.50 if it has any hope of shifting momentum back in favor of the bulls.
Which brings us to Act 3, navigating the turning point. Okay,
Let's dive into this macro view for a second. We've zoomed in on the micro-level tension of Ethereum and that heavy pressure on XRP. But zooming out, the entire crypto market is at a vital turning point. Bitcoin is heavily testing key support levels. As we just explored, Ethereum is showing early signs of weakness while trapped in that delicate squeeze. And XRP is already under immense pressure after losing its major moving averages. When you put all three of these together, it tells a highly cohesive story about broad market hesitation.
All of this means you absolutely need a game plan right now. Step 1, watch those key zones obsessively. Seriously, if those vital support levels hold across the board, we could absolutely see a strong, explosive continuation of the broader bullish trend. But step 2, you've got to prepare for volatility, because if those supports fail, like if ETH drops below $2,240 and XRP loses $130, a deeper market correction is right around the corner. You literally have to be ready for both scenarios.
So the crucial point is really summed up perfectly here. The market is entering a more cautious phase where every single support and resistance level matters more than ever. Actually, let me be super clear. This data doesn't guarantee a crash is coming, not at all. But it absolutely mandates caution. The days of just throwing a dart at a board and making a profit, yeah, those are paused. We are officially in a technical, precision-driven phase, and paying attention to the implications of these charts is your absolute strongest defense.
Which leads me with one final question to ask you before we wrap up this explainer. Are you just passively watching these charts, or are you actually prepared for the increased volatility heading our way in the coming days? The charts are coiled, the tension is sky high, and the next move is imminent. So apply these levels to your strategy, stay sharp out there, and I will see you on the next deep dive.